Hi, everybody. Welcome to Life Stories Podcast, People Helping People. I'm Shara Gossick, your host. My guest today is Dr. Cliff Redford. Most of the time, Dr. Cliff is in his veterinary clinic in Canada where he treats household pets, dogs and cats and things. But he's known as the worldwide vet because he travels all over the world and visits different wildlife refuges and helps animals and helps people that are wanting to help animals. What he's doing is really incredible. I got to watch a documentary about him. It's not available in the States yet, but eventually it will be. And it's just amazing what he does. I love it. I think it's important, and you can tell that his heart is so in what he does. You can follow him on Instagram, and I will have all his information listed below so that you know how to find him. But go follow and watch his videos. Make sure you tune in to that documentary when it is available because it was exciting to watch. So thanks for being here.
Well, thanks so much for talking to me. You have a very cool job. I watched the documentary. It was long, but it told a lot about what you do and where you travel. Um, it's just fascinating to me what you get to do. And honestly, one of the coolest things is you get to work with your daughter. To me, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I mean, I've been a regular cat and dog vet since the late '90s,
Yeah.
and I love it. I absolutely love it. That's 5 out of my 6 work days per week, but once a week I get to do wildlife, and then a couple of times a year I get to go somewhere exotic. I'm blessed.
You are. I want you to tell people exactly what you do when you get to travel, but I wondered if you just pick a different place every time to travel to? Is that what you do, or do they ask you to come in certain places?
Yeah, it's kind of both. I've been to a few places twice. I've been to Ukraine twice. I've been to India twice. And the last 2 Januaries, I was crazy enough to go up to the Arctic Circle and volunteer when it's minus 40 and almost no sunlight. No other vet will go and volunteer then. They only go in the summer.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to help out. But I mean, most of the time I try and pick somewhere new. And at this point, people reach out to me, rescues reach out to me, and then I do a little bit of research, make sure that the need is there. So I'm going to have lots of work to do, make sure some of the infrastructure and the assistance is there because I need technicians to work with or veterinarians.
Sure.
And I do look for cool countries and cultures and with experiences that I won't experience and I haven't experienced anywhere else. So it's a great way to see the world.
Yeah, that is awesome. You talked about going to the Arctic Circle. What kind of animals did you help when you were up there?
Well, when I'm there, it's actually just cats and dogs. So I go up to the community of Iqaluit, which is the capital. They call it a capital city of the territory of Nunavut in Canada, but it's only got 7,000 people. But it's the biggest community in the entire territory, so they call it a city. And there used to be a veterinarian there, and there isn't anymore. The vet left about 5 years ago and left a vet clinic for the shelter to take over. So I go up and I deal with cats and dogs and bunnies and whatever pets. Like people go up there to work. They might be traveling from the big city of Toronto or Ottawa, and they head up to work, or they're natives there, and they have pets. So it's actually not like people assume sled dogs.
Right.
The sled dog owners take care of their own dogs. They know how to do stitches and they give vaccines and the whole bit. It's more the Yorkies and the
Yeah.
Labradors and the little special cats. So
Aw.
it's fun, but it's still a challenge because they don't have an X-ray machine. They don't have a blood machine. The animals haven't been seen for many months and often have chronic conditions that need to be treated.
Yeah. So you traveled all over the world. What is the wildest animal that you have worked on throughout the years?
Wildest animal. Well, I may have stitched up a person. I don't know if that's it. And they can be pretty wild.
Yeah.
He almost bit me. No, that's not true. He didn't almost bite me, but I did stitch up somebody. I won't say anymore because I might get in trouble. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that, but there's been a lot. I mean, definitely the most memorable and the one I wasn't expecting, I guess, was a monkey, a rhesus monkey.
Yeah.
I've met and treated several of them in India. The 2 times I went, one of them being the documentary that we filmed. So That was just so crazy because it was like doing it on a small human. Um,
Wow.
their eyes are so human and so personal. So it was a real special joy.
That's awesome. So did you always want to be a vet? Was it something you grew up wanting to do?
Um, I would say apparently, but I didn't know it. So
Yeah.
it was on my list. I mean, yes, veterinarian, science teacher was a big one, police officer was a big one, paramedic. So all sort of like service oriented. But I didn't decide to be a vet until my final year of high school.
Oh,
However, when I talk to like teachers and friends and whatnot, especially teachers and people who are older at the time, they all say, when you were 8 years old, 9, 10 years old, we all knew you'd be a veterinarian.
oh,
Uh,
wow.
so I guess it was in my blood. I just hadn't quite realized it until the last minute.
Yeah. If you were not gonna be a vet, I know you play music. I know you love to travel and there's a lot of things you like to do. If you weren't gonna be a vet, what would you be doing right now?
I think I'm lucky that I would be very happy in a lot of careers. I'm still very much interested in science and teaching, so that might be something that I would get into. And even something like being a paramedic. I don't want to be a regular doctor. I don't want to be stuck like a human doctor. I don't want to be stuck doing one thing. I like the excitement of kind of emergency medicine. So I think I'd make a pretty badass paramedic.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, though, I think whatever I'd be doing, it wouldn't be in Toronto. It would
Yeah.
be somewhere abroad, somewhere really exotic, hopefully with surfing,
Yeah.
right? And that's going to be, other than I'll be volunteering as a vet, that'll be my sort of semi-retirement is
Yeah.
somewhere abroad, surfing and helping out animals.
It's always gonna be the animals. I can't imagine you not doing that.
I think so. Yeah, 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 100%. I love them. I love them too much.
We live out in the country. I'm in Texas. We live out in the country, but I see animals on my Ring camera all the time. We've had a fox, and we've had a raccoon, and we have deer that bed down in our yard every night that I didn't know that until we pulled into the driveway when it was dark and saw them. They don't come close enough to turn on the camera, but, we've got all kinds of stuff, so it's very fun getting but I don't take them in or work on them. I just see them on the camera.
That's probably the best thing to do,
Yeah.
just leave them be. Just leave them
Yeah.
be, they're not pets.
No, absolutely. So in all the different missions, and I saw this like I said on the documentary, what is one of the missions that taught you the most about improvising? Because like you said, they don't always all have the resources that you need. What is something that you've learned through all of that?
Yeah, I think the biggest one was my first trip, which was Jamaica about 9 years ago. It was a 3-week trip, and I was working with the JSPCA and, a couple of animal rescues. And I remember going there because I was going there not only to volunteer, but to film. I was trying to pitch this television show idea. So I had film students from, recent graduates from the local film school. I paid them in beer and pizza and a trip to Jamaica.
There you go.
They were very happy. They
Yeah.
said, that's great. And, but I remember going there about a month before, just for 3 days to kind of organize things and meet with the SPCA organizers and whatnot. And they started to list off the drugs that they use and the diseases that they treat.
Mm.
And all the drugs they had were what I would have considered archaic. They were using xylazine, this sort of injectable sedative and painkiller in dogs. And I had written a paper in the 90s about why we don't use xylazine in dogs
Oh,
anymore.
wow.
So I had to kind of step away from this, golden hospital scenario where we have all the most modern equipment, and learn how to be quite pragmatic. And first of all, it taught me that you can do a lot with very little. And it also taught me how to really focus on the physical exam, the history without having to rely on major tests and fancy equipment. They don't have them, and the people don't have the money. And the animals did excellent, and I learned so much when I was there. And all these trips make me such a better veterinarian. So it's something I really take a lot from it when I go on these trips.
Yeah. It is all fascinating to me, and I was watching I think it was the fox. You were working on a fox, and it was, like, touch and go, like, I think the fox died a couple times, and you seemed so calm during the whole thing, like, you looked so calm, but then you said at the end your emotions kind of, got to you out of it, but I thought, "Man, he's so calm through all this," like, it's just not a big deal, like, it's so easy.
Yeah, they don't teach that to us, but it's definitely a skill, especially the surgeons
Sure.
need or emergency medicine doctors or veterinarians need. In that, I kind of get into this robot mode when things get really scary, when complications happen, and it just becomes a ABC. I follow the training, I follow the foundation. The animal doesn't have time. I get emotional just talking about it. The animal doesn't have time or can't afford for me to get emotional. Uh,
Right.
it's pretty hard doing what I got to do if I'm crying and I can't see.
Yeah.
Uh, but afterwards, it's
You're right.
again, even when I just talk about it on podcasts, it just starts, my voice cracks and my eyes tear up. Um, and that saves lives. It saves lives, and being calm and sort of falling back on your knowledge is necessary.
Sure. So I know you have a Labradoodle, is that correct?
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
have you had any crazy pets in your house, like, besides the dogs and cats?
Um, let's see. I mean, I've had a lot of the pocket pets growing up. I mean, I sometimes bring work home with me.
Yeah.
So that fox in the movie spent the
Yeah.
night at my clinic, or at my house. I slept on the couch and he slept in a little crate, and I had to get up, every couple hours and give him pain medication and get the IV line
Mhm.
pumping again. So we've had a lot of animals here, but as far as pets, my family's mostly a dog and cat
Yeah.
type, mostly dogs. But they can still be pretty crazy. Right now, you could probably hear them sometimes in the background. I have a 9-month-old rescue from a Callowit from the Arctic,
Yeah.
and his mom is a shepherd corgi cross. So he's basically a shepherd with very short legs and a fat butt. But his father was a wild dog living on the reservation above the Arctic Circle. So he's got some savage tendencies to,
Wow.
and he's a lot of work and incredibly loving though, and such
Aw.
fun. So, yeah, even the regular dogs can be
I
pretty.
guess so, yeah. We just have a golden retriever, that's about as wild as we get.
They're pretty amazing. They're
She's
pretty
great.
amazing. Look, I mean, the majority of sort of wild wild animals or exotic animals, they do better in the wild. They do better
Yeah.
in. They certainly don't do well in Toronto. I'm in the heart of the city, greatest city in the world, and go Leafs. So dogs and cats are more domesticated, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. I One of the things I've loved living out in the country is the wildlife and getting to see the animals that we have. Before we got cats, we had lots of lizards and hi, puppy.
See, there
Oh,
he
she's
is.
beautiful.
Yeah, he's a boy. His name's Bo,
Hi, Bo.
and very
He's so
handsome.
pretty.
Yeah, he's about 9 months.
Sweet. Well, we had lots of lizards and frogs and things until we got cats. Then I didn't see as quite as many of them when I
Yeah, I
saw
mean, like
dogs.
in the U.S. alone, outdoor cats kill 1 billion birds a year.
Wow.
So they're pretty amazing hunters. I
Yeah.
prefer cats stay inside, but I recognize it's different in the country.
It is different in the country. So, I know you take part of your vacations to go do these missions. When you don't go on a mission for vacation, where do you like to travel? Anywhere
Uh,
with
I I have
waves?
not taken I have not taken a real vacation in 9 years.
Oh, wow.
These are my vacations. I mean, even when I did some volunteer work in Greece, my wife is Greek. We have family there, so we have a place in Athens, and when I go to Greece, I end up volunteering with the cat rescue there. It gives her a chance to go and see her family, friends, and some of them don't speak English. So, I'm learning Greek, but not enough. So I end up volunteering anyways. I do. I mean, my vacations or my time off when I go away and it's truly time off, it's only for 2 or 3 days. I'd much rather do small, frequent trips. And it's honestly, I usually rent a cottage, or my wife's a triathlete, so my
Oh,
vacations
wow.
often being what we call a triathlon Sherpa. Uh, so I carry her bike and her gear, and I
Yeah.
support her and whatnot. But it's a great way to see North America.
Mm.
She's even done some triathlons in Greece. So, yeah, I'm not a beach drinking a Mai Tai sitting in the sun sort of guy.
That's too funny. Well, that's good. I'm glad you're enjoying what you're doing, even if you're not sitting. So tell me about your podcast.
Yeah, so I started like many podcasters, I would start it and then I'd quit. And then I'd start it and then I'd quit. So this is my third one, but I do an episode once a week. Very rarely I'll throw on a special episode. So I've done 80 of them. So it's almost been 2 years.
Awesome.
So I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm good now. I've fit the habit. It's called Vet Life with Dr. Cliff. And sometimes we talk about the cases or we talk about stuff that's going on in the veterinarian world, but mostly I'm talking to athletes and TV stars and musicians and politicians and people where I don't want to, I approach them and I say, no, I don't want to talk about your MMA career. I want to talk about your animals in your life. And they're so excited. They're so excited. I've
Mm.
talked to a few WWE stars, current and retired, so like wrestling stars,
Yeah.
and they're just so happy not to talk about wrestling
Right.
and to talk about animals in their lives. And you'd be surprised, like everyone's normal. There's that Foo Fighter song called Hero where it says, "There goes my hero, he's ordinary." Everybody likes animals. Not everybody, but only the people I want to talk to. So
Right.
it's these cool conversations, and it gets me to meet some pretty fascinating people.
Yeah, that is so creative. That is so creative, and I love that. I'm sure, like, everybody does. It's like a mom talking about her children, and, everybody loves talking about their pets. So, I know when you go to these missions and you go places all over the world and you're treating wildlife, there's not an owner of this pet that you're gonna hear feedback from, but what kind of feedback have you heard back? Or maybe a special story of someone whose animal you have helped, that you can remember?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely when I travel, I mean, in some cases they are pets. Like when I worked in Ukraine, I went twice during the current war. One was at the border, Poland and Ukraine border, and I was helping people who were fleeing Ukraine. They had their animals with them. Their animals need to be vaccinated or treated for something
Yeah.
before heading to a safe country. And obviously they were super grateful, but probably one of the more impactful, and they're a group of stories, but they all fall into one category. The second time I went to Kharkiv, the first time at the border, I went with my daughter. It was safe-ish, as safe as it could be, right?
Yeah.
But the second time I went into Kharkiv and into the Donbass region, right in the war zone, I went without my daughter. It was very dangerous. There were missiles dropping all around us
Mm.
24/7. And we were working with the local military group that would go to bombed out areas or into areas where there was just recently fighting the day before. And if they happened to come across a dog, a cat, a bunny, a bird, that was either stranded or some of them purposely shot or burned or whatnot,
Yeah.
they would contact us. And we ended up, just to show the human animal bond, I was working with a shelter in a vet clinic that had been abandoned. And we ended up figuring out this way that, a gentleman might call, he's a soldier, and he says, I found this dog, and can you come and get it? And we kind of say, well, it's kind of hard for us. We're dealing with these other cases. can you, after your shift or however it works, because they weren't in the battlefield right at the moment, can you bring the dog to us?
Mm.
And partially it allowed us to continue our work, but we also knew what was happening. As they were bringing that dog to us, they were bonding with it. And
Oh,
by the time they got to us, they had named the dog.
oh
This
gosh.
gentleman would have named the dog, this soldier or this woman, this rescuer. And they would have said, take care of this dog, fix the wound, do whatever you got to do. When I'm done with the war, I want to come back and adopt this dog.
Oh,
So it was this great sort of adoption program that we ended up having
yeah.
where we did a little bit of manipulation, but it like it they lit up with such joy when we would reach out to them and send them photos. And a lot of these soldiers were, again, sort of, they were finishing up their tour of duty, or they were going to be getting some R&R, so they would then be able to take these animals to their parents' home or their family's home. um, and it was a wonderful proof of the human animal bond, and a little bit of happiness in those sad times.
Yeah, that's amazing. Is there a place that you haven't traveled to yet that you would like to, or do you just go where you can help?
Oh no, there's definitely a lot of places. I was talking on my podcast to a woman named Lauren who just started vet school at Washington State, but Lauren was running the shelter in an American island down by Japan called Saipan. And Saipan has 45,000 people. It's near Japan, Philippines kind of area, and 45,000 people, no veterinarian on the island. And they
Wow.
have this shelter. And so that might be my next volunteer place.
Yeah.
Because I can say, I'm just going to the US. I'm just going to go volunteer in the US. But it's literally on the other side of the planet.
Right.
And so one of the more remote places I'll have been to, definitely a need with the facility in place. So I want that, and I'm also talking to a woman named Becca on Instagram. I think it's Vet Becca, Becca. She's hilarious, and she's a new grad out of Nigeria.
That's all.
Um, so I've never done South Africa. I've done North Africa and Cairo, but I've never done South Africa, and that's something I'd like to try.
Wow. What a way to see the world. That's incredible that you get to do that.
It's cool because, look, like, if you do resorts or cruises, they're all the same.
Yeah.
They're all, maybe the food's a touch different, the
Right.
accent from the person serving you is a little different, but I would imagine they sort of all start to blend into one. But if
Mhm.
you go and you travel outside of the resorts, outside of those white picket fences, whether you're volunteering or not, you learn about the culture, you learn about the history, you experience things that are way more fascinating.
Yeah.
So it's something I encourage people to do, is to get away from the cookie cutter resorts and experience the world for real.
Yeah, I talked to a girl on here one time who she's not a travel agent, but she likes to go to different beaches and places, and she talks to the locals. She has a podcast and talks to locals, but she also volunteers everywhere that she goes, which I think is such a great idea because you do kind of get to learn about the community and the culture and all the things. So I think that's great. You're right. They kind of all do blend together.
I'll
Beaches are
have to get
beaches.
I'll have to get her name. I should get her on my
Yeah,
podcast. That sounds awesome.
absolutely. Yeah, I will, email it to you. She was
Yeah,
great. It was
100%.
fun to talk to. So, is there anything that I have not asked you about that you would like to tell me about?
I don't know. I mean, there's so much. We
Yeah.
talked a bit about the documentary. So I've recently sold it to a broadcaster in the U.S.
Awesome. I
Because
know you
right
said
now
you
you
could
can
tell me
only,
who it was.
yeah, yeah. Right now you can only see it if you have one of those VPN things. You can see it on YouTube because it's on
Mm.
the what's called the TVO YouTube page, Toronto, or the Television Ontario. So it can be seen in Canada, but if you're in the US, you can't see it on YouTube. But it's nice to kind of see it on like a widescreen TV.
Yeah.
It is cinematic. It was filmed as a film and not as
Yeah.
a TV show. Um, so I've sold it to a broadcaster in the US. I can't say who,
Yeah.
and I don't know exactly when it's going to be airing. Um,
Yeah.
but it will be airing. So, everyone keep tabs, I guess. And other than that, I want to make sure I come back in a year because I've written a book about all
Oh,
my
yay.
trips. And it starts in Jamaica, ends in Ukraine, which is right before the documentary. So it's like a prequel. Tells a lot of stories that were briefly touched on in the documentary, but mostly it's personal stuff and this adventure travel stuff. Signed with a publisher, so
Wow,
it's
that's
legit.
awesome.
Like audio,
Mm.
digital, print, worldwide. So in about a year, it's gonna be for everyone to watch. It's or to read. It's called Far and Wild. Uh,
Wow, that's great.
yeah, Far and Wild. We're very, very excited.
That's great. Well, I love what you do. I think, I love animals. I don't know that I would approach them like you do, all the wild ones, but I love them. Like I said, my favorite thing on here is the wildlife. And so I think what you do is so important. And then as a vet, we have always had pets. And so even just working on dogs and cats and household pets, I feel like is so important. So I'm thankful for what you do.
I
And I'm
appreciate that.
excited I got to talk to you today. This is pretty cool.
It was a lot of fun, and I love podcasts that like yours that allow me to talk about the need to being kind to animals and
Yeah.
stretching your wings, pardon the pun, reaching out and volunteering around the world or just experiencing different things.
I just thought of somebody else that I'm gonna send you. She started a nonprofit where she finds foster homes for pets for women who need to get out of domestic violence situations. So I didn't realize that was even an issue that women wouldn't leave, or that's one of the reasons they wouldn't
Yeah.
leave because I didn't know. So I'm gonna send you her info too because she was curious.
Yeah.
Too, so
So important. Our provincial medical association, the Ontario Vet Medical Association, has a program called Safe Pet, and it's through a secondary organization called Mother Risk, and it's basically veterinarians that provide a list. Hey, we will house animals for a period if a woman who's her and her children need to escape a violent situation, unsafe situation. It's often a sticking point. How do I leave if I can't bring my dog? Where is my dog going to stay? So it gives them an opportunity. It's very, very important. People love their pets. So, that was the sort of similar situation when we worked at the border.
yeah.
People love their pets.
Absolutely. I get it. I have said that I have become the pet owner I used to make fun of because our dog is like my 4th child. She's our baby. So, your kids grow up, you gotta love on somebody.
The dogs are nice. They rarely talk back and they don't
Right.
ask to borrow the car keys.
That's right. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you very much.
Alrighty.
It's been fun.
Thanks. All right. Enjoy your day.
Cheers.
Okay. Bye-bye.